What about the Clippers and the report DeAndre Jordan could be available? The thought of losing Chris Paul. What do you think is that roster with the Clippers looking like?
That's the team that the most variable exists with the Clippers, because if Chris Paul and Blake Griffin leave, then they could be headed toward a rebuild. Then they could trade DeAndre Jordan, the one player they have that could get that back assets, and they could go into a full rebuild. I think J.J. Redick's future in L.A. is pretty doubtful. I'm told. I think his focus in free agency is going to be elsewhere. I just don't think they can afford to bring him back, and I think he may be ready to look on elsewhere. And so they need to get what the Clippers are trying to do is to get a commitment first from Chris Paul, and then they can start to build out their roster from there. But right now, Chris Paul, I'm told, seems headed toward free agency. That doesn't mean he's headed toward leaving, but he's headed toward starting to take meetings on July 1. Now, they could have an agreement before then, but, right now they're nowhere near one, I'm told. And, Chris Paul, he's a free agent. This is a time where you're going to look and see what every opportunity that's out there for them. And I think that limits the decision-making processes in LA right now, because they're really waiting on Paul to give them some direction on his future, and then they go to Blake Griffin and go down the rest of the roster and try to figure out how. One more player with them is Carmelo Anthony. If Carmelo Anthony becomes willing to waive his no-trade clause, the Clippers have had great interest in him, and that's another possibility. But right now, Carmelo hasn't shown an inclination to waive it and leave New York yet.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.